Howdy, everybody. Well, the worst case scenario happened, and Tommy has died. We don't really know how it happened, but I'm going to take you through what I think happened. This is kind of like the Lemony Snicket books. If you've ever read those, it's the subtitle of that is A Series of Unfortunate Events. And that's what I think that we have here, is a series of unfortunate events. And it all started right here, in this area where we often keep the sheep. Kathy had given birth to Charlie, and I always keep Kathy and the baby separate from the other sheep so that the baby can feed without any interruption from the other guys. So they'd been down here for about 2 months, Charlie and Kathy. The other sheep had been up above in a makeshift corral that I'd made for them using electric fence. Kathy went into heat, and she started calling for the guys up there. And of course the guys wanted to respond, but they were behind an electric fence. And they were pretty frustrated about it because they couldn't get out of this makeshift corral to go down and see what was going on. And as a matter of fact, they were so frustrated that I was worried that they were going to break out of here. So I came up here to do a little bit of work to shore up the electrical fence, which is a little on the flimsy side, and I was putting some other stakes around and some other things. And in order to do that, I had to turn off the power to the fence temporarily. Junior took it upon himself at that point to escape, and he was headed over in this direction on this side of the corral, and I ran out here after him to get him back in, and in the meantime the other sheep escaped too. So now they're all out here, and Junior ran down through here, and he knows this area pretty well because we have paddocks over here. And so he turned down here and went straight down, along with all of the other sheep. And I had a mess on my hands. And so initially they came all the way around and wound up here. And I couldn't get them to move. And there's a good reason for it. If you see, this area is lush with food, and I usually don't let the sheep come in here very often because I don't want them trampling on the turmeric, but they like the food here, and so they didn't want to leave. Kathy was at the door here. She's inside, but she was right here at the fence, and then she left and went over to the other side because that's where her food is. And that meant that Junior and the whole gang came around over here on this side of the enclosure, and I was able to coax Junior through this door and into this enclosure area here. And of course he right away went over to Kathy and started smelling her and everything. The others didn't want to come down. I couldn't coax them initially, but over time I was able to get Tommy to come down here, and I got him in here as well. My goal was to get all of them in here and then take them out the other side so that Kathy and Charlie would be by themselves again. That didn't work. Instead, Sammy, Billy, and Bobby all stayed out there because there's plenty of food to eat out there too. That's where the napier grass is, and I don't let the sheep graze in there. I use that to feed them in the dry season. So they were very happy where they were. And Tommy and Junior started to fight. Male sheep engage in a process called rutting, which is almost like a contest to decide which one is going to be able to mate with a given female. And so Tommy and Junior were rutting and going at it pretty heavily. If you know anything about animals, you don't try to stop them. It's a very dangerous time for human beings to try to insert themselves and get involved. I just had to let it go and hope that they would tire themselves out. And eventually they did. And once Sammy, Billy, and Bobby had eaten their fill over here and were resting, then I was able to get them to move back up into the corral up there. Lena had to come out and help me, and we were able to get them to move up. In the meantime, Junior and Tommy were still going at it, and they finally stopped in the early evening, and I went out to check on both of them. Neither one of them seemed to have any external injuries. Tommy had sequestered himself over here behind the greenhouse, was all alone. Like I said, he didn't appear to have any external injuries, but he definitely had sequestered himself away. Kathy was hiding behind these two tanks here. Seems that Junior has difficulty getting in there, and Kathy could. And so Kathy and Charlie both were hiding behind the tanks, and Junior was out here eating and doing other things. And that's something that's always confused me, because Kathy clearly was calling for the males. She wanted them down here. But when the males came in, she plays hard to get. You know, logically, you would think she'd just mate with them and get it over with. But no, as soon as they showed up, she plays hard to get, and she's running around and letting them chase her. And so I guess that's part of their ritual, but it doesn't make any sense to me at all. A little bit later, I was able to get Tommy to move and go up with the other sheep, with Sammy, Billy, and Bobby, and the corral. And I typically leave the door open to the corral, unless if I don't want them to go out, because the corral leads directly out to their paddock where they were eating. So that means that when they wake up, they can go out and eat right away. They don't have to wait for me to show up and let them out. So I woke up the next morning, went up to check on the sheep here above, and Tommy was gone. I mean, he was just gone. We couldn't find him. We searched all over the place, and we had no idea where he was. That caused a great deal of anxiety and anguish in us. And of course, I started second guessing myself, and I felt really bad about the whole thing. But we kept searching, and eventually we found Tommy. Rather, I should say that Buddy, one of our dogs, found Tommy in one of the swales. And this was a swale that we had looked in many times. So it's obvious to me that Tommy was avoiding us, probably because he knew he was going to die and he wanted to be alone. That's the best explanation that I can think of. He must have had some internal injuries, probably some serious ones. Those males, they butt each other, and it's like hitting a freight train. I guess he had internal injuries that we didn't realize that he had, and he eventually succumbed to them. Lena and I both love Tommy very much. And as I said, this has been absolutely devastating for us. I guess it will be for a while. But it's one of the realities of having animals on the farm. And that's that eventually those animals die. So that's the story. With that, I'm going to end the video. Thanks a lot for watching. In the next video will be more upbeat, and I'll see you in the next one.